What if the greatest danger isn't in poison, not in a knife, but right inside a fruit you consider healthy? Why do deadly substances hide precisely in foods that appear sweet, colorful, and harmless? How many people have already made a fatal mistake simply because they didn't know what they were eating? And why doesn't nature warn us more clearly? Behind these fruits lies a pattern of ignorance, curiosity, and silent danger. Stay tuned now, because even number 1 shows how a single wrong decision can end up being life-threatening. Top 1. Ackee, the fruit that decides between life and death. There are fruits that look so appetizing that no one would even think of danger for a moment. Ackee is exactly one such fruit. From the outside, it appears harmless, almost inviting, with a smooth skin and warm colors. But the real threat lies invisibly within. When unripe, ackee contains a silent toxin called hypoglycin A. If this substance enters the human body, it blocks glucose production and can lead to a drastic drop in blood sugar within a few hours. The consequences are severe: violent vomiting, seizures, unconsciousness, and in the worst-case scenario, a fatal coma. What's especially dangerous is that even small amounts are enough. The most unsettling thing, however, is that ackee isn't always dangerous. Only when the fruit opens on its own is it considered safe. If you open it too early, it becomes a deadly trap. A fruit that determines itself when it can be eaten. And if you ignore this sign, the price can be your own life. And top 2. The wild peach, the deadly secret in the pit. There are dangers that don't lie in the taste but are deeply hidden inside. At first glance, the wild peach looks familiar, juicy, and tempting. But its real risk isn't in the flesh, it's in the hard pit. This seed contains amygdalin, a natural compound that can turn into hydrocyanic acid in the human body. Exactly the poison known for centuries for its rapid and deadly effect. If the pit is bitten, ground, or processed incorrectly, a dangerous dose can be released within a short time. What's especially insidious is that this poison has no smell and no taste. There's no warning, no burning, no signal. Just a silent chemical reaction that can attack the nervous system. Historically, the pit was even used medically in tiny amounts, but ignorance repeatedly led to severe poisonings, for instance, from homemade jams. A fruit that gives life, but carries an invisible boundary at its core. If you cross it, curiosity turns into a deadly decision. Top 3. Raw cashew nut. The poison. Under the shell. For many, the cashew nut is considered a healthy snack, mild in taste and rich in nutrients. But hardly anyone knows that in its natural state, it's highly dangerous. What we call a cashew nut is actually the seed of a fruit, and between the hard shell and the kernel hides an oily resin called urushiol, exactly the same toxin found in poison ivy. Even light skin contact can cause painful blisters and severe allergic reactions. If a raw cashew nut is eaten, the poison can cause inflammation in the mouth, nausea, vomiting, and even breathing problems. What's insidious about it is that there's no antidote. That's why all cashew nuts sold are first heated or steamed to completely destroy the poison. Truly, raw cashew nuts never make it to market, even if some products are labeled as such. This fruit shows how narrow the line between food and poison can be. A small error in processing, and something valuable turns into a serious danger to the body. Top 4. The wild banana. Danger. Here inside the seeds. When we think of bananas, we imagine a safe, sweet, and easily digestible fruit. But not every banana is harmless. There are wild varieties that have never been domesticated, and whose internal structure is completely different from the familiar types. These fruits contain large, hard seeds and a chemical composition that can be problematic for the human body. Some wild banana species contain high concentrations of natural alkaloids, substances that act as toxins in certain amounts. If consumed raw, it can lead to a burning sensation in the throat, severe discomfort, vomiting, or violent diarrhea. In severe cases, neurological poisonings have even been observed. The danger is that these fruits appear edible and don't provide an immediate warning. Only preparation determines safety or risk. Long cooking, roasting, or fermenting can break down the toxic substances. Without this knowledge, a seemingly familiar fruit becomes a silent danger. A banana that shows nature can be merciless without experience. Top 5. Manchineel, nature's deadliest apple. There are fruits that look so beautiful they almost seem unreal. Manchineel is exactly one such fruit. Small, round, shiny, and deceptively familiar, almost like an ordinary apple. But behind this innocent appearance hides one of the most dangerous plants of all. Every part of this fruit is poisonous. Even a single bite can cause severe burns in the mouth, internal burns, and shortness of breath. Even the sap is highly toxic. But that's not all. If you stand under the tree in the rain, drops mixed with poison can corrode the skin. If you touch the bark and then your face, painful inflammations or even blindness are a threat. What's particularly insidious is the fruit's sweet taste. There's no bitter warning, no natural protective mechanism for humans. In the past, severe poisonings repeatedly occurred because people trusted this beauty. Manchineel is a perfect example of how deceptive nature can be. A fruit that appears harmless but carries death in every cell. Top 6. Wild cherry, the silent poison in the pit. Deep inside some seemingly harmless fruits lies a danger that is easily overlooked. The wild cherry is a perfect example of this. From the outside, it appears juicy, bright, and inviting. But the actual risk isn't in the flesh, it's in the hard pit. This contains so-called cyanogenic glycosides, natural substances that can turn into hydrocyanic acid in the body. As long as the pit remains intact, the danger is small. But as soon as it is bitten, ground, or damaged during cooking, the poison can be released. It becomes particularly dangerous with homemade jams, liqueurs, or decoctions, where the pits are processed along with the fruit. Symptoms range from headaches and nausea to respiratory arrest in severe cases. What's insidious about it is that many people don't know this connection and classify the fruit as completely safe. Animals often cope with it without problems because they excrete the pits intact. For humans, however, curiosity can quickly become a trap. A sweet fruit with a pit that can release deadly chemicals. Top 7. Apple seeds, the invisible danger in everyday life. The apple is considered a symbol of health, simplicity, and trust. Hardly anyone would suspect that a potential danger lurks precisely within its interior. But apple seeds contain amygdalin, a substance that can be converted into hydrocyanic acid in the body. In small quantities, the organism can handle it, as long as the seeds remain unchewed. The risk arises when they are bitten, ground, or consumed in large quantities. This can be particularly dangerous for children and pets. Studies show that a sufficiently large quantity of well-chewed apple seeds can theoretically release a fatal dose. The unsettling thing about this is not the frequency, but the invisibility of the danger. There is no bitter taste, no warning signal. The apple remains sweet, familiar, and everyday. That's exactly what makes it so deceptive. A fruit that is considered the epitome of health carries a substance in its heart that requires respect and moderation. These fruits prove that danger isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it lies silently hidden in what we eat daily. Knowledge here can make the difference between safety and risk. If you were surprised, then subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and stay tuned. Because this was just a small glimpse into the invisible dangers that are closer to us than we think.